And to be completely honest, I don't know if this is going to work out so great. Howdy, my name is Zach. I'm a full-time traveler and sprinter dweller with my dog Winter. We've been doing this for about 3 years now, and we enjoy making videos of all the wonderful places that we visit so that we can bring you along. Welcome to this video. I'm really excited to have you along. Currently, we are located in the volcanic scrublands of southern Idaho. We're kind of in a mountainous region that has been kind of developed over thousands of years as the volcanoes have continued to erupt in this region. Thankfully now they're not erupting, and so we get to enjoy these beautiful scrublands full of sagebrush, cows, and lots of grass, birds, beautiful flowers, and beautiful scenery. Currently we are at the Thorn Creek Reservoir, which is just a small reservoir put here to water the cattle that live on this BLM land that is leased by the ranchers from the federal government to grow delicious, grass-fed, happy cows. Today we are actually leaving this reservoir in hopes of getting up into the mountains and starting the mountain phase of the year. It is very early summer. We just had the summer solstice a few days ago, and that for me is a sign that we need to get up in the mountains and start exploring the mountains of Idaho. We of course are going to take you along, but first I got to take the 6-mile dirt road out of here. I'd like to give you a little tour of our campsite. It's kind of windy outside, but the wind has died down for a few minutes, so maybe we'll get a chance to show you the sights before we take off and get out of here. Oh, I need glasses. And maybe a hat. All right. So this place is absolutely just surrounded by sagebrush and grasslands and cows. There's Miss Gertie there and our little trailer. But there's mountains all behind us, all volcanic, all formerly flowing hot liquid magma, and absolutely beautiful. What I love about spending a lot of time in a place is you see how the light hits it differently at different times of the day during different weather conditions. And that is one of my favorite parts about staying somewhere new for quite a while, is you just kind of get this really great overview of how it looks, how many people are here, how many cows, the wildlife, the scenery. It's just absolutely stunning. There's the road we drove in on, just a little dirt road just over there. And it actually peters out and it continues out this way before it peters out at kind of a pastoral area. I've already kind of packed up the van. Everything's already ready to go. So once I finish showing you this, we're going to take off. We're not actually right at the edge of the reservoir for once, which is kind of nice because it means there's a lot less mosquitoes, but you can see it all the way down there at the bottom of the hill and just this draw here. It's not a very big reservoir, but it's more than enough to keep the cattle that live on this land well watered. Way back behind me here, you may be able to see it, especially if you have it on a big screen, but those are the Sawtooth Mountains. That's the next place that we're gonna call home. We're just gonna enter into the southern region of them. I'm not sure if it's exactly the Sawtooth Mountains, but it's definitely the Sawtooth National Forest. But without too much further ado, I think we're going to take off. It's time to hit the road, so let's get going. It's supposed to be a rainy, windy, cold day today, which is a perfect day to drive. I love driving in the rain. It's definitely my ideal time to be driving. Unless I'm trying to see sights, then of course I like better weather. Ready to go? Let's go. All right, we have everything filled and dumped and cleaned. I am good for about 2 weeks, give or take. Have plenty of water, plenty of food. All the supplies are good to go. The only problem is I don't know where I'm going to stay tonight. I'm just going to head up into the mountains and hope I find a place. And to be completely honest, I don't know if this is going to work out so great. There's a bunch of campgrounds up here, but I never stay at campgrounds. I'm not going to pay to do what I do every day anyways. But I also don't know if there's any spots. I don't have any scouted out. I don't have any iOverlander links or locations. I just looked at a Google map, picked an intersection up along a road that doesn't look like it has too much activity, especially no campgrounds on it. And we're just going to drive up there and see what happens. Regardless, I always have a place to sleep in the van. I just don't know where we're going to park and if it's going to be good enough for more than one night before I have to find another place to stay. Another thing working against me is that it's Friday evening. It's about 6:20 right now, which means that everybody that's heading up Friday evening is either all the way already there or well on their way to getting up there, and they probably know where they're going to stay. I've seen nothing but campers and other people that look like they're clearly going to do what I'm going to do, heading that direction. I've been on the same highway that heads up there most of the day, and all I see is campers going up there. So there's a lot working against me. The only thing I have in my favor is I have a lot of experience doing this. So welcome to the Camas Prairie. That's where you just saw us entering down into the valley. After crossing over the volcanic mountains that I was in before, we're now going to head up into Sawtooth National Forest, and I got my fingers crossed that this is going to work out. But I honestly don't have a lot of hope that we're going to find a great spot tonight. We may even have to wait until like Sunday afternoon to go find a good spot. But that's okay, we can hunker down, or we can get really lucky. Thankfully, these are some of the longest days of the year. We just started the long slide towards the shortest day of the year a few days ago, and I'm hoping that that works to my advantage, having at least 2.5 hours to 3 hours worth of usable light to find a place to stay. It's about, I would say, probably about 30 to 40 minutes to get to the spot that we're heading to, and we're going to head out right now. Yeah, I'm not sure how this is going to work out. This could go badly wrong, and we could end up in a very uncomfortable spot, but this is something that I've done a lot, and it's actually been quite a while since I've struck out, so either I'm due or I'm good enough to avoid striking out and missing out on a good spot. But I think I have some faith in my ability. I just don't really think there's not much working for me right now, but there's not much working for me right now, but this is not a spot that I haven't been in before. So I feel pretty comfortable that at the very least we're gonna land on our feet on some level and not end up in a dangerous spot, but we may end up slightly uncomfortable for a night or two. So with that, we're just gonna get going and see what happens. I have my GPS set to a spot along a national forest road that isn't actually a camp spot, but I think it's a good start to get me up there and get me going. Four-wheel low. Yep, there's somebody right behind me now. So that should help us zip right up this hill with ease. Mountains there. Still got plenty of snow on them. It's about right for late June, early July. At least how it was when I was growing up. We're quite a bit further south than where I grew up, which makes it warmer. Doable little hideaway back there. Definitely. Alright, looks like we made it to the summit. That's the road I have pinned. Alright, let's see what happens. As long as this road doesn't get much worse, it should be okay. This is okay. Winter! This is okay conditions. Can't have it get much worse than this. Especially if I have to turn around, because I may be backing down, because there's no turning around this rig on this kind of road. This is a turnaround spot right here. Man, that'd be a great camp spot. Load. So we're not going to put anything up here. There's a lot of roads. This is like primo here. I think we're going to call it in this field. Yep. Doesn't get much better than this. I got a nice grassy field. It's flat, on top of some mountains. Lots of hiking to do. So as long as this ground is not oversaturated, this is a perfect spot. It is not saturated at all. So I think we're going to orient right here, facing away from the road.
Walk trails alone. I don't get up with the rest of you. Lonely light calls down on me just like you used to. Endless night, come down, come down. We couldn't be together like we wanted to.
Well, I must apologize. That was very anticlimactic. We drove up here. I was worried about not finding a spot. We definitely found a good spot. And I guess now the only excitement is going to be in exploring it. I think we are going to stay here for several days. So we're going to get set up for camp, eat some dinner, and relax. Because this looks like a beautiful, peaceful spot. But I'll probably also scout for a little bit more ideal spot, but I don't know how it gets much better than this. We're not even parked on dirt. We're just parked on this beautiful kind of field here, which is fantastic if you ask me. There's some really old fire rings here too, so we're not the first people to do it. But we're the first people to camp here this weekend. So we'll take it.
Took us far too long to see and want the truth. You're wishing me the world and I the best for you. But we couldn't be together like we wanted to. Little head, you keep it hidden in your heart so well. When we fell like a penny outside the wishing well. Endless night, come down, come down. We couldn't be together like we wanted to. Took us far too long to see and want the truth. You're wishing me
All right, so I just marked this on my maps for a place to return to potentially someday. It is absolutely beautiful. A lot of times that just kind of gives me a reminder of what I can expect if I were to come back to this area again. I'd know kind of what's going on. But I got fantastic view that way. I can see the Camas Prairie. I'm going to do a little checking because I think I might be able to see the reservoir that I spent over 2 weeks at last month in May, looking up at these mountains. There's some great hiking around. I think Winnie and I are going to take an evening walk up over this hill here where the sun is still shining, because I think we're going to have a really fantastic view of the Soldier Mountains just over there. They're still covered in snow, so we're definitely going to take you along as something to do this evening. We're at 7,700 feet, which is very, very high. I was at about 6,000 feet for my highest this year so far, so 7,700 feet is pretty extreme. The air feels crisp and cool. We are mostly level. I think tomorrow I may put some levelers under this front driver's side tire to just kind of bring the van up just a little bit, because there definitely seems to be a little bit of a slant that way. But all in all, this is a fantastic spot. Winnie has lots of ground. She's been exploring continuously since I let her out of the van. I don't have to worry too much about rattlesnakes up at this altitude. This is not where rattlesnakes hang out. So I feel pretty confident and comfortable letting her just roam. As long as she stays on this side of the road, everything's perfect. And she's pretty good at knowing where her boundaries are. We've done this enough. I'm glad that my experience and determination and my ability to read maps has gotten me to another great spot. It wasn't always this easy, and after 3 years of doing this, I'm starting to feel fairly salty, fairly confident in my abilities, and I have a lot more success than I have failures now. I can literally feel the anxiety just falling off of me. I was stressed coming up here. I knew that it was going to be mountainous. I knew it was risky. I think if I came up here a week, 2 weeks before, it would have been a completely different story. But coming up now, everything's dry, but still a little moist, so not too dry. It really is just right. And it's green and beautiful. It is quite cool though. I don't think we're going to get a lot of warmth. All right, I'm going to get settled in a little bit more, and then we're going to go for a little walk. It turns out that was a pretty good call. Thinking that was a shepherd's camper. That must be the shepherd or something. I see some horses down there grazing. Because that's exactly what it was. I can hear some sheep doing their thing, and Winnie is super excited that we are going to go for a walk. I decided not to go into the woods back there, and we're going to head over up on this hill. It's back there because that's where I can hear some sheep doing their sheep thing. Obviously we don't want to mess with them or get too close. The shepherd down there may not take too kindly to us messing with his flock, but it would be pretty cool to get a glimpse of them. So we're going to wander this way, even though Winnie's gone off over there. Here she comes. Here she comes. This is a beautiful spot. I'm sure not too long ago it was covered in snow, but now it's beautiful and green and ready for us. Absolutely beautiful out here. if you can see the mountains. But they're still covered in snow. Okay, maybe not covered. They still have snow on them. Well, that's nice. It wasn't too hard to get to the top of this gentle ridge line here. This way, Winter. Winter, this way. Oh, there's snow just on the downside of this. Can hear the flock. A little clearer now. Wow. That's steep. Oh, they're way over there. Can't believe I can hear them. I see why the shepherd is where he's at. Because from where he's at, he can probably just hike up the hill he's on. So if you look, you can see the road over there. The shepherd is back, I don't know, half a mile that way. And the sheep are right over there. You can kind of see them right on the top of the ridge, buying away. Very unlikely the microphone's picking it up, but I can hear them pretty clearly. And then the road, it's down there, is the one that I had the option of going down and I chose to go up. Perhaps we'll try to walk down that way one of the days we're up here. But we got snow right over here just below the edge of the ridge line. And we could get over to the sheep. We'd have to follow this ridge line up and over, and then the sheep are just right over here. I don't know what else all those white dots are. Making quite a racket though. This is quite the area. And I hope the camera's picking all this up because it is stunning. Oh, it's time. Got beautiful cloudage over here. Some stunning flowers down in the weeds here. Beautiful yellow flowers. It's a very, very pretty spot to be in. Here's a nice little trail. I think we'll follow this down. Instead of walking across the scrub, we'll just follow this little trail down. This is definitely where I feel most at home, up on a mountain, up in the northwest. Gotta get some pictures. Winnie! Winnie! Good picture. Yeah, it's getting cold up here. Definitely gonna be in the 40s tonight. Probably a very good chance of being below freezing. Go! Nice and crisp. Winnie's excited. She's been running around like crazy. Should be some good high altitude training for my lungs. Always grateful that the air actually feels good up here and not thin for me. Just kind of walk at a slower pace, talk and think at a slower pace, and you don't run out of air. This is truly my kind of paradise. It's getting harder and harder to find places where there's nobody at, but the easy way to do that is you look where there's a lot of campgrounds and you go somewhere else. And for me, this is where I've always felt most at home, always. Ever since I was little. I always hated living in cities, and I spent most of my life living in cities. It wasn't until the last 3 years that I really made up for that and started living more where I feel comfortable. I don't like cities, but it's not that I don't like people, but I'm like overcompensating by getting out and spending a lot of time alone with myself, with my dog, of course, just to kind of get in touch with who I am and what I enjoy. And this is definitely who I am and what I enjoy. So I think we're gonna call it for the night. I made it back to Gertie, and I'm ready to relax for the rest of the evening. Tomorrow's a new day. It's gonna be beautiful. Hopefully we'll see some bears. This is good bear territory. Anyways, we're gonna call it a night. We're gonna rest and relax. I'm gonna put my feet up. Call today a huge win. I was able to resupply. I was really stressed about that, and I was able to find a spot that is more than adequate for my needs. And I'm pretty proud of that. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm glad that my skills and experience and this beautiful rig have stayed solid and gotten us to where we belong. Welcome back and good afternoon. It is actually Sunday. I left you Friday evening. Decided to take Saturday and just relax. To be honest, I went for a short walk with Winnie, and then I binge watched the first season of Joe Pickett, which I gotta say is a really good show. I'm looking forward to watching season 2. And then I got up this morning, typical morning. I noticed that somebody parked about 150 yards away from me, which I'd prefer they weren't there, but that's actually not that bad. That's a pretty respectful distance. I could barely hear their conversation, so I wasn't too concerned. Preferably they would have parked somewhere else, but it is what it is. And then about 10 o'clock, these 3 gentlemen parked their truck like literally right next to mine. The tire tracks are probably about, 30 feet away from my van. And then they parked, not even 30, 15 maybe. And then they parked basically just behind my trailer, and they were going to offload their side-by-side and drive up the hill. And I asked them if they could park somewhere else because they basically parked right in my camp. And they flat said no. And I said, why do you think that's a cool thing to do? Do you just normally park in people's camps? And they said, no, we're just going to be here for a short period, and then we're going to leave. But we're not going to move. And I kind of asked for more, and they said, hey, you don't need to be an asshole about it, blah, 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 being pretty rude to me. And I said, hey, I think you guys are being the assholes here. You're parking right next to me. This is my camp. Do you go and just park in people's camps regularly just because that's somewhere where you want to leave your vehicle? And they were like, no. And I was like, well, then why is it okay now? Would you be happy if somebody just parked in your camp and left their vehicle there without saying anything? And then they were like, well, everybody can park here. And I said, yeah, that's true. You can. You don't have to move. I was just asking if you'd be polite and park somewhere else outside of my camp. And they were pretty adamant about not doing it. And I kept kind of pushing the issue because I felt they were being pretty rude to me and disrespectful and treating me as though they could just walk all over me because they've been coming up here for 30 years or whatever. And I said, oh, so you own it because you've been coming up here for 30 years. And they said, no, well, you don't either. And I said, I know. I just expect a certain level of etiquette in the woods. I'm not parked out here to be near other people. If I wanted to be near other people, I'd be in town or at a campground. And I was just asking you politely to move. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. And I left. I started walking away. And then they got pretty abusive and aggressive towards me. And when I got aggressive back, they told me that I was the problem. And I said, oh, that's fine. You know, I don't have time to spend with you. Do whatever you want. And I said, well, we're leaving. We're going to leave. You forced us to leave. Anyways, that's the whole story about that. Clearly, they thought I was just leaving my vehicle here to do what they were doing and empty my trailer, whatever I had in there, and then go for an explore. And they judged wrong, and then when I told them they were wrong, they got defensive and aggressive, and it was three, I don't know, middle to late aged men, and they did eventually leave. So after my mild altercation with those three gentlemen, I decided to kind of look for a new place, at the very least somewhere to come and sit for the afternoon or until the evening and then move back. Just so that they don't know where I'm at and they don't think I'm still in that spot, just in case they decide to inform Johnny Law that I did something wrong. It wouldn't be the first time people have lied to law officers to get somebody in trouble. And I thought I'd come up and scout a new spot. This road's pretty narrow, kind of sketch for a big rig like my van, but it's very dry. It doesn't have any crazy things I need to cross, no big rocks. There's a little bit of a lean and maybe some spots where I'm going to scrape some trees, which is not a big deal. But it's completely private. It's a dead end, 2-track road, and kind of a similar situation that I was in before. But there's no main forest road by me. And actually I can see the main forest road up there. So that way I don't have to worry about knowing whether they leave and then worrying if they're going to send somebody up here to cause issues, whether they're going to become vigilantes and try to get back at me for asking them to give me some space or any of those things. And it's impossible for somebody to drive up here and justify parking up here in this private area, saying that, you know, they have a right to park right next to me or within sight of me even, so that they can enjoy the woods too. I'm a big fan of not parking close enough so that people can hear you, and if possible, ideally parking somewhere where you can't even see anybody along with not hearing them. We're all out here to spend time in nature away from people, and it always seems ridiculous to me to park near other people. Unless you're in a campground, then you've already decided that that's what you want. So we're gonna go get the van and move up here. I'm pretty excited. This is a really cool spot. See how close they parked to me. They were parked right between me and that fire pit, just like right there, like they own the place. But you know, there was that misunderstanding, but I just don't feel like they really came to my point of view or respected my point of view when I expressed it to them, and that's the problem. Weenie, come on, let's go, up. Good girl. Before I went on my little hike, I prepared the van to move just in case I needed to. So everything's clean and out of the way. Let's get out of here. Alright, so spend a couple hours just hanging out here, relaxing, enjoying the new quiet, the new spot. I don't have anybody driving by right now anymore. I mean, we didn't have a lot of people driving by, like 4 or 5 a day, honestly. A few cars, few motorcycles, few side-by-sides, and that's about it. Pretty quiet area up there anyways. But now that we've come to the end of this 2-track, narrow, slightly steep road, I haven't even heard a vehicle, even though I can still see the main road out there. Let's do a quick camp tour. There's our road leading in. Just got forest around us, forest. There's the van. Winnie's doing her usual and trying to track down the ground squirrels, but they're always too quick for her. She caught one once and I made her put it down. She's really good about taking off the hunt, or about recalling and getting off the hunt if I think she's getting too close. But most of the time they're pretty intelligent creatures as far as hiding from predators, so they just pop down into their holes and she can't get to them. She tries to get to them and stuffs her nose down there, but that's about it. Got a nice little grove of aspen trees growing there. By my understanding, all these trees are connected underground, and each individual grove is actually its own organism, which is pretty cool. Got some large pine type trees here as well. A If you look right there, that's actually an old road that's been blocked off. If you look over here to the left of that tree that Winnie's near, that's also an old road that's been blocked off. And if you look right between these trees here, let's see if I can get it a little straighter, that's actually an old road that's been blocked off as well. So this area was kind of the beginning of a bunch of different roads, little roads, probably for logging is my guess. But these, you can see these stones, these large rocks placed here. I'm pretty sure they were placed here to stop people from driving further, but they didn't really block it off all that good because I was able to just drive around. But I came over here, you can kind of see my tire tracks in the grass where I backed up, and then I drove over this big log here to line up and set up my new spot. So I'm on the right side, or the left side of the rocks, but the right side to be driving on. So if any forest ranger comes up here, I will be in the right. And I doubt they'd mind too much that I drove past it, but you never know who you're going to run into out here. But this grass will straighten up here in the next few hours and you won't even be able to tell. So that's the camp. It's a pretty cool little spot. There's ground squirrels all over the place just running around doing their little thing. I hear a lot of birds, hear a lot of other rodents chirping and doing their thing. Currently it's actually kind of a quiet period. During the whole time I was settling in and hanging out, it was really, really windy. As soon as the wind went away, I was like, oh, this is a perfect time to get back on the camera. So that's why we're out here. I'm very, very happy with this spot. I posted an Instagram story. I like to do daily updates on there. So if you're an Instagrammer, you should check out my Instagram with the same name. There's very consistent content on there daily in my stories and stuff, so you can kind of keep up to date on what I'm doing. My YouTube is 1 to 2 weeks behind usually. But it's very peaceful here, and my route out is also pretty easy, so that's always kind of nice to have a fairly easy route in, fairly easy route out, but to also be alone and in a place where people aren't driving and exploring and disrupting my solitude. And this is where I really belong. This is where I really feel at home. This is where I'm really happy. Maybe sometime I'll have, there's the wind. Maybe sometime I'll have a little bit more companionship, but at this point in my life, I'm really enjoying being alone and just spending time with my dog and just having a quality time doing my own thing. I don't think a lot of people get the opportunities to do this that deserve the opportunities to do so. So I owe it to them, and I owe it to myself to really take advantage of the opportunities that I have. So we're at a really quiet spot in the storms. They keep missing me, but I think maybe this evening we're going to run out of luck and get hit with some rain. Not that that's a bad thing. That'll be kind of nice to get some rain on the ground and get that delicious post-rain smell going on. Having said all that, I think that is a great point to end the video. I really appreciate you watching. I hope you subscribe and stick around. If you're already subscribed, let me know in the comments what you think about what happened. See if I could react better, how you react, how you would react, how you think I should have reacted, etc. I'd like to know. I'm always curious what other people think. I don't always make the right decisions. I'm not really the most socially adept person, but I've been really working on getting better at that. And I think I've made some really good progress. But I'm also somebody that doesn't let anybody step on me anymore. I let people step on me for a long time, and I realize that the more people step on you, the more they're going to step on you. And then when you try to stand up for yourself, they're going to be like, who's this guy? Who does he think he is, suddenly stepping up for himself and standing up for himself? And so I'm trying to start every relationship, no matter how short-lived it's going to be, with a very clear line of this is how you're going to treat me and this is how I'm going to treat you. If we can show respect back and forth, then we're both going to be happier people. So that's kind of how I like to work with things. And either people like me or they don't. There's really not a lot of in between. And I kind of like it that way, because then I know who my allies are, I know who my friends are, I know who the people that I should keep around are. So if you're watching this video and you've watched all the way to the end, you're definitely somebody that I want to keep around. And I hope to see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Later.